So what are some of the 9 craziest moments in NBA history? Let's find out. The Nuggets and Knicks Brawl, 2006. Nate Robinson probably went crazy, danced around like Mike Tyson, and challenged everyone who had never heard of Denver to a fight. This was probably the best part of the whole night. Maybe it was Carmelo Anthony, who threw sucker punches and then ran back to his bench like a real hero. Maybe it was just the stereotype of a lot of middle-aged white men trying to keep everyone in line. Or maybe the point is that a lot was happening. This wasn't a typical brawl in which men just push and shove each other. All of the guys went out to try to fight each other. In the end, everyone on the floor was kicked off, and Carmelo set a world record in the 100-meter reverse dash. Dennis Rodman kicks a cameraman, 1997. Dennis, I'm sorry. The fact that most people have forgotten about this shows just how crazy Rodman was. No one has time for a little cameraman abuse between the Madonna boning, wedding clothes, and his adventures in North Korea, but let's face it, this was crazy. He really did kick a guy in the nuts. Just a normal guy going about his own life when, boom, he's taking deep breaths and thinking about whether or not he will ever have kids. Dennis was suspended for 11 games, and he and the person finally settled out of court. After the kick, the cameraman won an Emmy for his acting. It's a real piece of art. He's the best at being dead. Neither Sean Bean nor anyone else. Charles Barkley spits on a little girl, 1991. This really did happen. Okay, so Sir Charles was trying to spit on a heckler. Isn't it funny that this is a good enough reason? But he lost control of his spitting game and spit all over an 8-year-old girl in the crowd. The NBA is really cool. Think about what would happen right now if this happened. Charles would be put to death live on ESPN. At the time, all he had to do was pay a fine of $10,000. And he ended up becoming friends with the girl and her family. Latrell Sprewell chokes his coach, 1997. This happened during practice, so there's no real film of it, which is probably good for Latrell because that would have been the end of his career. That's because hearing about it is one thing, but seeing it makes people act, well, differently, as Ray Rice can tell you. They would have seen Latrell spit on head coach P.J. Carlesimo and choke him for 10 seconds before being taken away. That's not just a quick, oh crap, I went crazy, sorry thing. That's a, I've thought about it, and I'm going to kill you right now case. To make his point clear, Latrell went back to the changing room and took a shower. 20 minutes later, he attacked Carlesimo again. This time, he only got one quick hit to the face before he was pulled away. But man, I think you got your point across. Spree was finally traded because, well, duh. He went on to play in the NBA for many years, but he never completely got rid of his bad reputation as a coach choker, which is a pretty terrible thing to be known for. Michael Jordan retires, 1993. Michael Jordan, the best and most famous basketball player in the history of the world, go to hell, Space Jam aliens, shocked everyone by leaving in his prime to, play minor league baseball? That's strange enough on its own, but what makes it even stranger is that almost everyone thinks that it was a retirement set up by Commissioner David Stern because Michael's gambling problem had gotten so bad that it was out of control. A lot of people think that it could be true, but it's just an idea. So I hope Michael Jordan won't send his lawyers or Charles Oakley to beat me up with baseball bats. Even though Michael came back and beat everyone up, let's not forget how weird this was. The baseball thing made it even more strange. Since we were able to see clips of him playing bad minor league baseball on ESPN, where he always struck out and looked like a gangly doof. Why the hell is this happening? Kermit Washington destroys Rudy Tomjanovich's face, 1977. As we've seen, and will continue to see, punching someone isn't that uncommon in the NBA. But really crazy behavior usually involves a lot of hits or fans. Not this one though, because it was the best punch ever thrown in the NBA. Rudy Tomjanovich chose to be a peacemaker and ran into the middle of a typical NBA brawl, where everyone was pulling each other apart and grabbing each other. Kermit Washington, however, had other plans. He threw a punch that hit Rudy T right in the face, making it look more like a car accident than a fight. Rudy's whole face was hurt, and he said he tasted his own spinal fluid, which, Jesus. The crowd went quiet. and Kermit's friend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said it sounded like a melon being dropped on concrete. Kermit was grounded for 60 days, but he found peace in Miss Piggy's arms. Rudy T, on the other hand, was never the same after he tasted his own spinal fluid. Lord thank you. Vernon Maxwell punches a fan. 1995. It's one thing to punch the other players on the court, but it's a whole other thing to open up a can of whoop-ass on the fans. But Vernon Maxwell did just that in 1995, when he ran into the stands in Portland and punched a fan in the face, breaking his jaw because the guy was talking too much crap. Maxwell was only banned for 10 games and had to pay a $20,000 fine. Imagine what would happen if he did the same thing today. The best part is that Vernon's lawyer used the traditional "he was asking for it" defense, saying the guy deserved it because he was using specific slurs, which I'm sure we can all guess, sadly, and that he would have done the same damn thing. Even Mad Max's attorney was a bad guy. Magic Johnson announces he has HIV, 1991. We all forget about this now because Magic is still here, looking big and happy. And I'm pretty sure he'll live longer than me, but back then, this was crazy. This is like if LeBron James held a news conference tomorrow to say he was leaving the NBA because he had Ebola. You also need to keep in mind that Magic was more than just a famous person. No, he was a famous person. He might have done more than any other player to make the NBA the most famous sport of the 1980s. He looked like a movie star with his bright smile and easygoing style. He was the king of LA. Which is weird since it's called Hollywood. Then he told everyone on TV that he was going to die soon. It's not that important. The Malice at the Palace, 2004. How often do sports fights get names that sound like they came from Don King? That's what happens when everyone loses their minds. Players start fighting with fans in the crowd, and the Entourage lookalike gets punched out after walking onto the court. This was from another planet. At the time, no one could believe that this was really happening. It simply kept getting weirder and weirder. Ron Artest went crazy and charged into the crowd to kill the guy who threw a drink on him. Steven Jackson used the whole thing as an excuse to go all Terminator on random fans and jump around like a crazy person. And of course, the Detroit fans weren't just going to sit back and let the players have all the fun. This wasn't Portland or Seattle, where fans probably would have tried to calm everyone down with a drum circle and slam poem session. This was where Detroit was. If you throw your hands at someone in Detroit, they'll throw back. Everyone was punished. Fans were sent to jail. The Pacers almost fell apart. Ron Artest became known as Hannibal Lecter, and the NBA and sports in general all of a sudden started cracking down hard on this crap. Vernon Maxwell's 10-game suspensions are a thing of the past, and the time we live in now has become a new standard. This is what made it happen. This is what made it happen. Since then, player behavior has been closely watched, in large part because of the craziest thing to ever happen in the NBA. Thanks for watching this video.